Hey, what's up? It's Kia with Kiradox channel, and I'm back with another video. This video is going to be all about intuition. You asked for it, here it is. I'm going to put this in my How to Increase Your Intuition playlist. So if you haven't checked those out, go back, check them out. And definitely watch this video. Hit that thumbs up if you like it. There are some people who don't agree or believe in intuition or want to give intuition any type of credit because it is less scientific, it's less objective, and it's less logical. So some people just don't find any value in it. But as you can see on the screen here, a very creative genius, if you will, said the only real valuable thing is intuition. And I thought that was a very important quote. Einstein and Tesla had an interesting relationship. Einstein was definitely one that was more popular and revered in his time, and Tesla was not. And that kind of caused some strife in between how they viewed each other. And I think Einstein really made a point when he said the following quote: "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." And this, to me, if we're talking about Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein, the intuitive mind would have been Tesla, and Albert Einstein would have been the rational mind. And society definitely honored Albert Einstein more than they, and almost forgotten about Nikola Tesla, which was the gift. So this was still an important lesson in intuition that we can learn from Albert Einstein. And this idea coming from a scientific mind, one that's more logical or rational, it really is helpful because it bridges that gap between science and intuition. They're both important. And Einstein even said that intuition was more important. But a lot of people in today's world tend to value logic more. We will revisit Einstein and Tesla a little bit later in the video, but now I would like to define intuition from my own words and my perspective using an illustration. And to me, intuition is like going to a museum and looking at wonderful works of art and understanding what the artist was conveying, what message they were, or what story they were telling, without having a conversation, an intellectual conversation. The conversation or the communication is all through your other senses, mainly your feeling sense. It's a knowing absent the intellectual understanding. It's just knowing or having the ability to understand that you came across this information prior, but you're not really sure how you came across it, and you may not be able to tell logically how these things come together, but that you know this information because of previous understanding or experiences with it. And one reason why you may not know why you have this understanding or experience with it is because when you were born, your brain was developing, and each time sound and action came together, your brain fired off a synapse. And it could really be any of your senses. It doesn't have to be sound. And the more that you happen to have that same sound and same action together, that synapse made a connection, another connection, or got closer together to forming a solid connection. And when you were younger, you had all the world, everything was the same. And by same, I mean new. You didn't know what to block out. You didn't know what to pay attention to. It wasn't until things became routine and things happened consistently and over that you started to focus on those things. So the other things that are going on in the world are kind of like in the background. It's still there. There were some connections made, but they're not really strong. So when you have intuition, it's kind of like one of those connections that happened way back when you were like a newborn baby that didn't really form a consistent it didn't happen consistently, so you don't have a strong knowledge of it. It doesn't have it doesn't have a pattern. So patterns are very important with young children when developing their brain, and this is how they teach in school. Red, blue, yellow, red, blue, yellow, red, blue. What comes next? You should say yellow because that is the pattern. But a lot of times, if we don't rehearse these things over and over and over again, which is what we do in school, you may still have that information there. However, it's not going to be very strong. There are more and more studies being done on how to quantify and measure intuition in a scientific way that's more reliable. What I've noticed in my employment history is when I am at work, they're always talking about systems, and they're always trying to measure how you got from A to B. And it's always reflecting on your method and your steps. And especially when you interview for new positions, the questions are geared toward that, as opposed to years before, there really wasn't. It was more like situational type questions, like what would you do in this situation? But now they're asking you to define your system, and I think it's because of this interest in intuition and trying to really quantify that, because it's being shown that your gut feeling is mostly correct. You come to the correct answer more often when you trust your gut. And one study was done, and this was the most scientific one that I could find, was they actually showed images, and they flashed images to students and asking them to perform a task. And they didn't notice the image. It was more so in their subconscious. But when the image was something positive, then they came to the answer faster and they were more accurate. When the image was something negative, or when it evoked some negative emotion or feeling or memory, then they weren't as successful with coming up with the answer to the problem. So intuition is also it could be negative and positive memory. However, when a lot of positive things happen and you have a lot of good associations and positive experiences, then you're more willing to go out and take those risks and trust that. But when your experiences and your memories and those connections that you made were more so negative, like say you were in a war-torn country, or you have post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD. So your intuition I'm not going to say it won't lead you to the correct answer, but your intuition is going to go more toward what are the bad things that can happen, as opposed to what are the good things that can happen. And that could affect how you make decisions. You may be less willing to take certain risks because those risks haven't paid off for you from your experiences and your memory. But if you have very positive experiences, then you may be more willing to go out on a limb and trust and make those risks, those calculated risks. This picture here on the screen, I love this picture. It is a woman who has everything exploding. It looks like the universe out in the back with the stars and the beautiful colors of the Milky Way. And this is everything. This is intuition. It's everything in your unconscious. Your conscious is everything that happens in a routine that you are aware of, that you focus your brain on, because your brain has seen this time and time again. It's something that is learned to accept or come to expect. Your intuition is the things that have not made enough connections. It hasn't made enough appearances in order to become part of your routine. So your routine and the things that you do every day, and even the experiences that you have, new experiences that you have, there is something routine about that experience. You may meet a new person, but when you meet a new person, you're still going to introduce yourself. You're still going to talk about, small talk, or you're going to talk about something more intimate. You're going to have this conversation, this back and forth. Even though this experience may be totally different, you may be on another side of the country, but your brain recognizes that this is a conversation. I'm meeting someone for the first time. When it's something that is totally new, then your brain is always trying to find the routine and the pattern in what you're doing in your conscious. Intuition can come in your consciousness and also in your subconsciousness. Your subconscious is the one that needs to be nurtured the most, because you have the fewer connections. So it's more of that one that you just can't identify why you know this information. You just know that you know. So that can be kind of dangerous in a sense, because you don't want to come up, or you don't want to build facts off of theory. Sometimes your intuition and your subconscious can be theory. So as long as you take that theory and test it out, then you should be fine. And you also want to nurture it. So you want to honor your inner voice and hear it, and also apply logic to it. But intuition, these keywords: visionary, future oriented, imaginative, that's all about future orientation. So a lot of times people are saying be present, be in the now, but your intuition is also in the future. Time it doesn't matter with intuition. Everything, there's no time, there's no past, present, or future. But intuition is thinking about what's not apparent, and also focusing on the meanings. So that means not accepting things as they come or face value, but really understanding the meaning in each situation, because it could be different. Even though the word is the same, and you want to fall into, oh, this is a routine, I heard this word before, your intuition is focused on the meaning instead of the routine or just the consistent part of it. Is focusing on what the actual meaning and intention is. So intuition is strongly related to intention. So this video was kind of all over the place a little bit, but I do have to wrap it up because we're coming up on 15 minutes. If you are interested in more videos on intuition, please let me know in the comments section below, and I will do my best to give you something that is meaningful. Thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to you next time. Peace.